1030 at 35, gust 42, y'all ready to go?
Delta 1963, that's a negative for those winds.
Okay then.
Ground gave us winds that were less than that a couple seconds ago, and those would have been good, but they're out now for us.
Died down just a smidgen here, wind 030 at 33, gust 42. Does that change anything for you?
Negative.
What sustained wind speed can you accept?
Stand by.
No more than 41 knots.
So if the gust goes less than 41, then you'll be able to go?
5030, correct.
Okay, we'll wait. It processes that gust every 2 or 3 minutes, so we'll just have to wait to see what the next sweep of wind check gets.
Alright.
Hello, Tower Delta 389.
Delta 389, Atlanta Tower.
Still in the gate? Wondering what the winds are doing.
Wind 020 at 34, gust 42.
Roger. Thank you. And holding pretty steady.
Yeah, so the sustained winds have been in the 30s, holding pretty steady, and the gusts have been about low 40s for about the last half hour at least.
All right. Nobody in line?
Everybody's departing the south side right now in a very short line.
Okay, so no north operation for us. We're going to Green Bay, but we'll expect the south runway?
Affirmative, 9 left for everybody for departure.
Thank you.
Wind 020 at 35, gust 42.
And Mike.
Hey guys, hope that little aviation bit came out okay. I put that together very quickly. Let me bring the voice level down just a little bit. But here we are in the wake of Irma, and let's check out what's going on outside right now. A few bugs out there, and there's Jupiter hanging low in the evening sky there. And let's check out the charts and see what's going on in the southeast U.S. The remains of Irma continuing to spin around out there, grinding down to a gradual halt with friction there taking effect. And let me see, where's my cursor? Okay. Yeah, no big deal there. I can't draw on this map here, but you can see the low center. Looks like it's in the Columbus, Georgia area, centered right about here. We got about 29.52 for a central pressure, and the strongest winds I'm seeing right now looks like maybe 33 knots in the Atlanta area, and that's going to be right up in here. And what kind of winds have we been seeing today? Well, here's a plot showing you the highest winds yesterday and today. And we can see down to the south, 89 mile an hour gust around the Fort Myers area there at the regional airport, and lots of 70s and 80s. That east coast really took a beating, and we have 3 major sites that went offline, so probably some gusts out there approaching 100 miles an hour. And even all the way up to Jacksonville, 86 miles an hour, and all the way up to Atlanta there we got that 61, kind of a tongue of very high winds right through that area right there as the remains of Irma gradually move northward during the day. And these have kind of tapered off, and as I've mentioned, the highest we're seeing right now in the 30s, and the remainder of the storm is heading up into the southern Tennessee area, and we should see it up in this region a little bit later tonight. Okay, so let's proceed through the chart sequence, something we haven't done in a while. And there's the polar orbiter data showing Irma about 7 hours ago, making landfall there, but you can see it's surrounded by dry air on all quadrants there. So it's kind of outflanked and outnumbered there, and we can really see that on the water vapor imagery. Yep, there it is right there. Look at all that dry air pulling into the southern quadrant of Irma, all the way from Texas through southern Louisiana and right up into the plains, Jacksonville, and Charleston area. And a pretty large shield of mid and upper level moisture spreading up into Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania. That moved up there very quickly today. Just in the span of maybe 12 hours, pushed up north there, and that's basically the storm being caught up in the prevailing westerlies there. And let's go back and take a look at the visible imagery, and I've got a few frames. This is catching the last little bit of Irma there. And let me switch off some of these frames at the very end. The days are getting shorter and shorter, and I'm having to contend with a lot more of these dark frames. And there we go. So that's about the best I can do for Irma. And you can see the higher layers kind of etched. I don't know if you can see the three-dimensional structure right there, but these are all the higher layers. This is cirrus and altostratus, and down below that, these are the lower layers of stratocumulus and stratus. This is from a lot of air mass modification, whereas the parts up to the north, these are remnants of the moisture field and dynamic lift. So definitely turning extratropical here, and out on the eastern quadrant you can see the convective towers right there. So a lot of CBs moving up into South Carolina, and that's where we have a few thunderstorms through the Charleston area and up towards Wilmington. So maybe we can take a quick look at the radar in a bit. But other than that, yep, just looking like a quite a change from a couple days ago. All right, so there's the remnants of Irma moving inland, and still listed as a tropical storm here. 986 millibars, so almost back to normal, which is 1013. And we'll just check out that motion real quick. And they've got that cone going all the way out to Memphis. All right, so that's probably almost the last we're going to see of Irma, and we've got a little bit of a tornado watch still in effect there for South Carolina. Still kind of a favorable helicity field, and I'll try to pull that up on the high-resolution rapid refresh imagery. Let's take a look at the upper-level chart, and we'll see the impact there of Irma. You can see that very deep troughing there, combining with some of the troughing there from Irma, coming together and giving us kind of a large trough there through the southeast U.S. The main polar front jet actually still well up to the north, but we're catching kind of a southerly split into the Mississippi River Valley right there, and that's helping to pick up the storm. And let's take a look at the surface chart. There's Irma there in the southeast U.S. The dominant feature right now is this large polar high across the northeast U.S. Lots of cold, dry air. And to a certain extent, that's one reason why we've had a lot of wind there in the Atlanta area. Lots of dry air undercutting the moisture. So we get a lot of evaporational cooling and wet bulbing taking place. and that helps pick up those wind gusts there as the system moves northward. All right, let's take a look at some satellite imagery. We'll just go back to the infrared, and I'll take a look at chat here. Kind of a light night tonight. I guess everybody's taking a break. We've got Mick here in Australia, Sue M. Irma rain bands on their way to Kentucky. Alex Front is here, and Lexi Walsh, Ron Chalfont, CKSYNO, Burl H, and Funwood Tech. Ryan says 65% of Florida is without power, but getting better every hour, it seems. Yeah, I'm sure the power crew's working overtime. Mick says not much weather going on in Australia right now, but probably an oncoming drought. Burl H liked the aviation bit, and that was interesting seeing those air crews. I can't believe they were trying to land in that stuff, but a few planes were getting in there on the eastbound approach path there. Crosswinds running about 35 to 40 knots earlier today. And let's see what else here. Ron says long range for California is not looking very good for the 3-month outlook. And for California, I don't know, are we talking about too much rain or too little? Because usually it's one or the other with California there. But I'm betting we're probably talking about a drought. And David Moore, his father-in-law, an hour east of Atlanta without power, and some of those very high wind gusts there have been certainly taking a toll. I was going to take a look at that long-range outlook. Let me go to the Climate Prediction Center, and we'll see what's going on in the 1 to 3 month period. Revised official outlooks, and we've got above average temperature in the west and below in Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. All right, let me make sure this is coming across. Okay, yeah, so that's not looking good for fire weather there in the west. Just, I guess, kind of a continuation of what's going on, and this is valid for September here. Let me see if I can bring this up into the November and December time frame. And looks like they're going for some above normal temperatures in the Arizona area, New Mexico. Much of the country apparently above normal. And precipitation looks wet for Texas. So I guess what this is telling me with the above average temperature and above average precip, probably a very strong tropical flow coming up from the Gulf there. So we're likely seeing a bit of ridging there, kind of like that, and probably some little bit of lee side troughing going on, and that's helping to bring up the low-level jet from the Gulf. So we've probably got a little bit of severe weather coming for Texas and Oklahoma before things shut down for the season. And then going into December, January, and February, well, above normal for Arizona. Looks like it could go either way for the northern U.S. and then for precip. That's a little bit more like what we want to see here, above average for the Central Rockies, and then going for a bit of a drought here. So looking a little bit like a La Nina pattern. Anyway, that's just looking ahead a little bit, but let me get back on track and see what's going on tonight. Let's see, did I run through my chart sequence? Yeah, this is this morning, 12Z. 850 millibar chart showing the circulation of Irma there, moving through southern Georgia, northern Florida. And we see a few, can't believe we got a balloon launch in this stuff, but I can see some 75, 80 knot winds in there. See what those balloon launches look like. Let's see. Let me bring this up while I'm in there, and I'll try to hit those soundings. Yep, 12Z, SCU-T. Let's take a look at Jacksonville, and they were getting the brunt of the storm at 12Z. They were there on that northwestern or northeastern periphery, and you can see there with the southeast winds, that means that the storm was still to their southwest. So amazingly, they were able to get a launch, and I think the balloon probably went past the horizon there, out of range. So we lost the entire top part of the launch. But man, lots of high winds there. 80 knots right up above the surface, and 65 up in the mid-levels. And pretty much a moist adiabatic column. Not surprising there with the showery weather. And then Tallahassee, not too far away. You can see that they're on the northwest side, picking up a northeast flow there. And 75 knot winds coming around in the 5,000 foot range there. And looks like some cooler air. See that right there? That's a cooler air coming around the west side of the system, and we're getting that wet bulbing in there. Lots of moisture aloft and precipitating down into that drier air, and we get this kind of air mass modification there. And let's see, let's head into the synoptic scale patterns. There's Irma there in Georgia. And I'm trying to take a look and see what's going on here. Where is the cold air mass? Well, the main cold air mass, that's definitely up in the Canadian Arctic, way up here. But in the U.S., where does that extend? Well, if we trace these lines here, there's kind of a depression in Texas. You see that right there where it dips southward? That's cold air right there, circulating around the west side of Irma. So a lot of it got actually sucked out of the northeast U.S. and right down the Mississippi River Valley. And we'll see if we can see that on the 1000 through 850. This is kind of a thinner layer there, and this is a lot closer to the ground, and yeah, we do kind of see kind of a little tongue of cold air coming around the west side into the circulation of Irma. So that's what's going on there. Elsewhere, we've got most of the cold air locked up in Canada. So just roughly, our fronts are located way up in this area here. So we're probably not going to see those being a factor in the next day or two. We'll probably be waiting for that cold air to come down. But let's take a look at South Carolina. We do have some weather there, and I'm going to go to College of DuPage, weather.cod.edu, and we can take a look at their radar tools. Next rad sites, and we'll go to Charleston. So here's the Charleston imagery. Looks like a little bit of a rain band, spiral bands still across the state, and I think we've probably got a few stronger cells. These could be multi-cells or supercells, probably spreading northwestward there. Let me see if we can get a closer look at that with one of the other radars. We'll try the Wilmington radar. And that's a little bit too far to the northwest or northeast. And then we'll try Columbia. And can't really tell too much just looking strictly at this reflectivity, but these cells here, they do have kind of a little bit of a comma appearance there, telling me that there could be a little bit of rotation in those. And you can probably tell that I'm trying to avoid bringing up GR level 2, but because I know that's going to suck our bandwidth up. Let me bring up GR level 3. That's not going to have too much of an impact. So we'll load that up and head out to Columbia. So here comes the data, and I don't think we have any warnings up, do we? Nope, no warnings, so that's definitely good news there. But there are kind of a few cells. So pretty much this area here, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. And the reason for that is, let me go to the high resolution rapid refresh. Take this out to the southeast U.S. Okay, and we can see that South Carolina there is on the northeastern periphery of that circulation from Irma, which means if we try to bring up a little model SCU-T, I'll drop it right here in this drier air. And we'll wait for the data to come up. And here we go. And you can kind of, some of you might be able to see what the problems are here. Look at that hodograph there. We've got a little bit of a curved hodograph. There's 0 kilometers above the ground. Here's 1. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. We've got a lot of helicity there in the lowest 1 kilometer. We've got curvature in the hodograph. And this is the storm motion vector right there. So storm motion relative to the ground is to the north-northwest about 35 knots. And so we end up sweeping out a pretty large area of helicity. So there's definite tornado potential here. We don't really need very much instability to get tornadoes out of a situation like this. We just need a good organized storm, and we can have tornado warnings coming out from the Weather Service there. The quantitative prediction algorithm they have here calling for marginal tornado threat. And certainly, let me see if I can bring up some of the significant, I'm going to bring up the significant tornado parameter. Maybe we can kind of visualize some of that higher helicity. Yeah, you see that coming right there on shore. This is going to be some of the more favorable air for rotating storms. So over the next 6 hours, that'll continue advecting inland with the warm advection coming in from the Gulf Stream waters. The curved hodograph profile will stay the same most of the evening because the storm is not going to really go anywhere. Maybe move a little bit to the northwest there, but we're still going to have that curved hodograph profile there in South Carolina. We are going to lose a little bit of the heating though, so eventually that will take a toll on the air mass, and probably by late tonight most of the threat should be gone. Part of the reason for that is we start wrapping around some of the cooler air, and we get kind of an included front situation. So this is about midnight right here. So what's happening is the storm is located about right there in Georgia, maybe Alabama, somewhere in here. And what we've got is kind of like a cold front moving northwest or northeast. So there's the cold front, got a little bit of a warm front situation there, and then we've got the occluded front stretching all the way out towards Asheville and Chattanooga. So this is kind of like a little bit of a wedge of slightly warmer, moister air. And so pretty much anywhere near this triple point, that's where we have a little bit of potential there for rotating storms. And let's see if we can put it together with the surface chart. And there we go. So we'll take this up to about midnight. There's the circulation right there. And so what we have here is something like that right there. Cold front moving towards the northeast. Warm front right up there. And there's our occluded front. And let's see if we can visualize that maybe with the dew point, or actually with theta E. And we should see a little bit of a wedge appearance. And there, yep, there's that wedge. This is starting out at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and so on. And then as we go up to about midnight, 1 a.m., you can see that wedge moving up the Carolina coast up towards Wilmington. So this is the higher theta E air, more favorable there for deep convection. And you can see a little bit of that warm air that's elevated aloft. That's kind of a reflection of the occluded front right there across northern Georgia. So you see that right there. And we see a little bit of spiraling as the rest of the evening goes on, as the circulation kind of wraps up there. Okay, so that's what's going on overnight, and let's start looking at the long term, what's going to happen over the next few days. And GFS probably a decent enough model to go with. And I can see Jose lurking out there. Let me try to set this up where I can show you everything. I have to zoom that out. Okay, so at the top left, we've got the valid time. So we'll run this forward for tomorrow night. Around the time we do the webcast, we're going to have Irma around the Memphis area. And look at that, a little bit of a slug of cold air has wrapped around Irma and now positioned over northern Mississippi and northern Alabama. So a little bit of a cold pool. Here's another thickness contour kind of outlining the cooler air. So kind of a cool night here for Texas. Cool in Atlanta, Ohio River Valley, Louisiana. And the warm air, that's going to be in the Carolinas right there, where this wedge is. So kind of what we got there is got that warm front moving northeast and cold front kind of moving to the east right there. And there's our occlusion. So that's kind of the situation we're going to be looking at. There's Jose lurking off the Bahamas. And then up to the north, we've got a little bit of polar air up in the Dakotas. See that right there? A little bit of stronger baroclinicity in southern Alberta. So we have to keep an eye on that right there. And then looks like maybe a cold front in Washington and Oregon right there. And not much going on in between, just kind of a little bit of a southerly gradient there. So without the remains of Irma, we would just have kind of a light southerly wind coming up from the Gulf. So moving into let's see. Okay. Wow, it's Monday already. Got kind of thrown by that, seeing Wednesday on there. But yeah, moving forward into Wednesday, there's the remains of Irma, not really going anywhere. And then by the time we do the webcast on Wednesday, looks like Irma is just about gone, kind of opened up across Illinois. And there's that cold pool advecting northeast into the Ohio River Valley, around Cincinnati, around Sue M. and Sarah's place there. And then we've got a little bit of a frontal gradient coming together in the northwest and in the northern states. So you see that right there, a little bit of a warm front in northern Minnesota. And then probably coming south is a cold front like that through Oregon and Idaho. So I guess we don't have much upper air support to pick up that boundary. So not really any sign of a wave picking that up just yet. But there's that southerly flow across Texas. And then for Thursday, southerly flow starts picking up across Texas. So we're going to see the south winds picking up and bringing up a little bit of moisture up from the Rio Grande. And looks like that cold air sags into the Dakotas. Starting to get a little bit of pressure falls in Wyoming. And a little bit of a front coming into Nevada right there. And here comes Jose wandering. Which way is it going? Okay, it's heading westward. So that'll probably be entering the picture as we get into the weekend. So for Friday, cold air continues sagging into the northern plains. Jose approaches the Bahamas. Southerly gradient starts covering much of Texas. Start bringing up moisture up from the Gulf and into the I-35 corridor. So we'll have to watch for maybe an increasing possibility of thunderstorms this weekend. Okay, then for Saturday, it looks like Jose gets caught up in the westerlies. I guess we've got a bit of a southwest flow starting to pick up that storm. And the reason I'm saying a southwest flow is because we've had a lot of this cold air sitting in this region right here, which means we've probably got a little bit of upper air troughing in this region right there. And that's going to pick up the storm and likely keep it from making landfall on the Carolinas there. So, Sunday and Monday, looks like we've got a cold front finally starting to show up in the Central Plains. Pretty good chunk of cold air in Saskatchewan and Manitoba there. And then around the middle of next week, just more southerly flow. Looks like we have a new system coming through the Pacific Northwest. Pretty active cold front moving through Utah and Wyoming. Looks like some of that deep tropical moisture has made it up into the Dakotas and Minnesota, crossing that warm front right around through this area here. So probably a little bit of an MCS there in South Dakota. Maybe some showers and storms there for the 18th and 19th. There's Jose grazing the coast. And then things get pretty active in the northern plains. I guess we're getting some troughing from the west coast there. Things getting active, picking up a southwest flow across the northern Rockies. And then by Wednesday next week, around the 20th, we've got a cold front coming southward through Oklahoma, Missouri. And if there's enough moisture in place, we'll probably see a few thunderstorms get going in the central U.S. there. And then things progress eastward pretty rapidly, and wow, pretty huge northwesterly flow there, bringing a little bit of cool air into the northern plains late next week. And here comes another outbreak for the 25th and 26th. And this looks to be an even colder one, the 540 thickness line coming all the way into Washington. So this is going to be some very cool weather, likely some 30s and 40s for afternoon highs in this area here. So the leading edge of that on the 25th, 26th, it's going to be something like what we see here, coming through the northern plains and very quickly into the central U.S. there. And wow, that's going to drive right down south through the central plains. Pretty good chunk of cold air, and there are some very cold thickness lines, 528s showing up for Saskatchewan there. And let's just see what it shows for temperature. I don't want to load all these frames. Give me just a second. Okay, this is 18Z. This is at the very end of the run, so this is just speculation here, but the forecast for the 27th of September, 1 p.m., and wow, look at those temperatures just after lunchtime. Lots of 50s for the northern plains, 56 for Minneapolis, and 50s for Kansas there, and just about everywhere, some very cold weather. So even though that this is 384 hours out, there's a pretty good chance that this large-scale pattern of cold air is going to be in place by then. So I think we can count on maybe a cooling trend for the western U.S. around the last week of September there. And I think somewhere in the Pacific Northwest we will see these very cold temperatures, because this is a pretty strong signal here. And let me just take a quick look at the European model and just see what we have in store. Wow, look at that. A lot of Pacific cold air coming in late in the period on the 21st. And let me see what it does with Jose. Okay, so there's Irma taking off. There's Jose on Wednesday. And really not much going on, just kind of a quiet pattern. Friday, cyclogenesis in the Colorado area. Pretty good bit of cold air developing in central Canada. And most of the impact of that goes straight to the east, so we're not going to see any of that. Actually, yeah, we do get a little bit of a chunk of that coming southeastward into Colorado and Kansas. So, yeah, there it goes. So we'll get a little bit of, it's going to be kind of a cool September here, it looks like. So initially, Irma helping out, shunting some of that cold air from the northeast into the Central Plains, and then we get some help from the Pacific next week. Both models indicating a bit of a cooling trend. Looks like the European model a little bit more aggressive with that. And then later in the month, we're going to probably get even more of that cold air. So I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. All right, let me take a look at the chat, see what we got going on. Yeah, Sue M says, bye-bye, Irma. And Jose just meandering around. Jose is a Category 2 this morning, doing donuts. Probably got a little bit of that Fujiwara effect going on. Very possible. Let me go to NHC and just check in with them one more time. Okay, Jose, yeah, so finally we're down from 3 to 1 hurricane, so that's good news. 100 miles an hour sustained, 973 millibars, that's kind of high, and Category 2, and moving north at 10, but as Ron says, it is out there doing donuts and forecast motion. There we go. Look at that. It's kind of a reverse log 10 spiral, kind of like. So heading for the Carolina coast, but the cold air up there is going to help protect things by giving us some troughing, mid and upper tropospheric troughing, and that'll help give us some stronger winds aloft, and as soon as Jose hits that, it will start recurving pretty quickly to the northeast there. Okay. So, just a quick look at chat, and I'm going to get back to work on digital atmosphere. I've been working today on digital atmosphere, and you can probably see a little bit of that here. Digital atmosphere 2.20. And I can give you a look at some of the dual pole stuff. Clear all this. I'll set this on Huntsville. And you can see here under radar we've got a couple of other options like differential reflectivity. And here it comes. There's the differential reflectivity, and you can see it plotted right there. So 144Z, so I'm still working on that, and that's kind of a taste of things to come here. I'm going to try to get this out as quickly as I can, because I know a lot of people are waiting on this next upgrade, and want to get that out the door soon. Okay, so yeah, Alex Front talking about snow, probably in the higher elevations in about a week or two. Yeah, definitely possible in the northern Rockies. I think we're going to see some of that. Ron says snow in Montana and Idaho, Wyoming. So probably this is a good time to order your snow chains. And Ron's saying something about chipmunks. Oh, okay. Ron's got chipmunks in his chimney. Carl says I can get on a ladder fine. I just can't get from the ladder to the roof. Hands get super glued to the rails. Yep, I know the feeling there. And anyway, Santa Ana winds begin in Southern California as low-pressure systems pass through the northern part of California. Big-time fire danger this fall. And yeah, Santa Ana, that is actually a good point, because let me go back to that pattern here. And we were seeing that, I think, on the European model. good Santa Ana conditions. Let me bring that forward. Yeah, I guess maybe I was saying that on the GFS, but when we get this high pressure in Utah, Idaho, and Nevada, we get a pretty strong pressure differential between that area and the Pacific coast, and it's that pressure differential that helps produce Santa Ana conditions. And maybe I was saying that on the GFS. Let me go over to that real quick. Did I lose my GFS? I guess maybe I did. Okay, yeah, okay, it's cached. That's good. Let me bring this up. And yeah, it's kind of hard to see here, but I guess what I was trying to show was later in the period, when we get these systems blasting through the Great Basin area, you can see we've got, at one point we pick up 1022 millibars here in northern Nevada. And so there's a pretty good pressure differential between northern Nevada and the coast. So when that gets in place, then that's where we see Santa Ana conditions there in the LA region. And Ventura, Malibu, and that can definitely be a problem, especially if we're in a dry pattern. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get this cold air starting to build in later in September. And let's see here. David Moore, looking forward to digital atmosphere. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it also. Okay, well, let's see. That's probably going to be it for me. I appreciate you all watching the webcast, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow night. So, y'all take care and have a good evening, and rest from watching Irma. And have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.